like that. It all quiets down when I come out. That's cool. So if you haven't noticed, we're doing a little bit of Christmas today. So I think you'll enjoy singing this next song with us. I don't know how it became related to Christmas. It's from a musical, but I think you'll know which one I'm talking about when you see the lyrics on the screen. So join in with us and fill this room with some joy.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Green-colored ponies and crisp apple strudel, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel and noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Now you can all stand up and you're going to sing it with us.
Or dance or something.
Yeah. Little waltzing.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudel, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Nice big finish.
Happy music.
Yeah. Joy, we love it.
Just invite Jack out.
Good morning, everyone. Beautiful, happy way to start, right? Okay, you want to stay happy? Listen, as long as you're happy, you're going to be warm. It's where your mind is. You get up this morning, you come outside, say, oh my goodness, it is so cold. I don't even know if I can get to Unity this morning. It's so cold. I have to warm up the car and do all of that. But you see, if you come out and you're happy, the cold doesn't affect you. It doesn't really. It's where your mind is. So that's what we're working with here today. And just while we're getting around to that, are there any people here from other Unity churches or centers? Oh, yes. Fort Collins. Okay, so you traveled a long way in the cold to get down here. Wow. Well, who's the minister up there now? You forgot? Okay. All right, well, it's nice to know that you've got that beautiful center going on at Fort Collins. Anybody else from a Unity elsewhere? Okay. Is anyone here for the first time? Oh, see, you got to raise your hand a little higher. We've got a gift for you. Anybody else who's here for the first time? Raise your hand high. Okay, okay. All right. In that envelope are the keys to a brand new Lexus. We take care of people here for the first time. We want them to come back. All right. Just take a hold of this right now. Right wherever you are in consciousness, whatever your life is about right now, You are perfectly okay and beloved by this universe. You've given permission to be wherever you are, learning about life in a more expanded way. That's why you're here in unity. So you're fine, you're perfect, everything's beautiful, and you're beloved, and you can't break that, you can't stop that. And this talk today is going to explain to you a little bit about, step by step, how we move on in life, step by step, and don't take ourselves too seriously or get ahead of ourselves. Always remember, wherever you are, God is, and you are beloved.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. A few quick announcements here. We have our annual craft fair. This is our first of 2 weekends. We have it next weekend as well, going on right now over here in Fellowship Hall. It goes till 3 o'clock today. After the service, go on in there, check it out. There's a whole bunch of tables in there of people, of local artists and craftspeople that are selling their wares. So go check it out, see if there's a neat little interesting thing that you didn't know you wanted. Our Christmas services, we've got those scheduled. December 23rd, which is a Sunday, at 6 p.m., and December 24th, also at 6 p.m. You can get your tickets in the lobby or in the bookstore. Also, though, on the 23rd, that is a Sunday, we are having just an 11 a.m. regular Sunday service. So come out for that as well. You get a lot of Boulder Unity in that day if you want. Our Christmas wreaths, we're no longer selling them, but they're out there in the lobby making our lobby smell amazing. If you ordered one, please pick one up following the service, but make sure you speak with Marjorie McCurtain, who's out there, so she can check off your name, so everyone who got one gets one, and she can keep track of everything. And if you're picking one up, make sure to thank her for all the hard work she did. That she just does that. She just volunteers to do that as a fundraiser for Unity of Boulder. And finally, Heather, can I get that slide? And finally, this Saturday, we're having a memorial. We lost a friend recently. So this is Robin Wellman Graham. If you knew her, everyone's welcome to come to it. It's over here this Saturday at 2 p.m. in Fellowship Hall. She did a lot around here. She helped in the Sunday school. She helped at our Angel Camp, our Native American gift drive we do every year. She ran it entirely on her own. So if you knew her and would like to come out, everyone's welcome. It is a potluck. And finally, who was here from Fort Collins? I believe it's Ariana Platten is the minister. Does that sound right? Peggy Christensen? Oh, I'm getting called out on my own stage. All right. Thank you very much.
Let's take a couple of moments to become centered in prayer. Just take a couple of deep breaths, and as you release your breath, release any cares that you have from the past. Past is already gone. Release any concerns that you may be harboring for the future. Because right now, you are in the presence of the divine, healing God. Take this thought deep into your being. I am resting in the presence of the divine, healing God. And we shorten that mantra to resting in the presence, recognizing that, feeling that, resting in the presence. Resting in the presence brings peace. Resting in the presence brings peace. Resting in the presence heals my relationships. Resting in the presence heals my relationships. Resting in the presence heals my body and my mind. Resting in the presence heals my body and my mind. And so we pray, Almighty God, to remember throughout this day and every day that we are always in the presence of your wholeness, your healing love, and your peace. We give thanks for this in the name and the power of your presence, the living Christ. To this we say, Amen.
So I wanted to share this song with you. It's called Here Comes Heaven. And as you know, we are, or hopefully you know, we are about to begin the Advent season, which is the expectation of someone great, which was Christ. And so we know in unity that Christ is our consciousness, and that the Christmas is when that is realized. So the time leading up to that point is a time for meditation and for introspection and to look at your life. So I like the idea of here comes heaven. We're waiting for it. It's coming, but we're preparing for that. So join us in this.
Children, weep no more. Hope is on the horizon. Weary world, behold your promised Messiah. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Here comes heaven. People, wait no more. Love has broken the silence. Come, let us adore. The Savior is with us. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Here comes heaven. Here comes heaven. Now behold his glory. Rejoice, for Christ is born. Over all who mourn breaks the dawn of salvation. Darkness reigns no more, for light is greater. Light is greater. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Here comes heaven. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. All creation born again. Here comes heaven. Here comes
Thank you, Erna and Santisha. That was beautiful. How are we all doing today? Interesting, same as the first service. A gradual murmur over here that dies over here. What is that seating arrangement? Do you guys organize that? You come here like, how you doing? You're not so okay, you go over here. I'm good, I'm over here. Anyway, how are we doing this morning? That's what I'm talking about. Let's get into this bad mamma jamma here. Got our opening quote here, our words of wisdom, which say, life is a series of steps. Things are done gradually. Once in a while, there is a giant step, but most of the time we are taking small, seemingly insignificant steps on the stairway of life. From Ralph Ransom. Well, if you've been to a few of my talks, you probably recognize that I like to start off with a question. I like to sort of set the tone of the talk by beginning with us questioning our own beliefs, our own consciousness, our own state of being. And so we're going to do that today. And for this question, I'm going to need that you forget your current age. Okay, is that going to be okay over here? Okay. I'm going to ask you to forget your current age, and I'm going to ask you to forget any association with age you have, that we can't do things physically, we have a harder time thinking, all that stuff. Just forget all that stuff for the sake of this question. So here's the question. If you decided right now that you wanted to win an Olympic gold medal in a sport that you don't currently do, how many years of practice would it take? Just go ahead and yell out. What do you think? 20, 10, 4? Are you going to do curling? Is that just waiting for bowling to become an Olympic sport? 10, 20, 30, somewhere in there. All right, let's try to narrow this down a bit, maybe be more specific. So I'm relatively athletic. I mountain bike, I ski, I do a little bit of jogging. If I wanted to win a gold medal in men's gymnastics, how many years do you think I would have to practice to get there? 10? 8? A lifetime? You can't say I'm reincarnate and I'm already too old. It's like you guys are laying out my life as like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're already too old, reincarnate. That was my life. Okay, and we're done. All right, so basically it's going to take a long time, right? It's probably going to take a very long time. There's muscle memory, there's all sorts of skills to be learned there. And there's actually people who have studied this. How long does it take to master something? And, well, let me ask you this question. So I can master, let's say, men's gymnastics, maybe 20 or 30 years we did. How about women's gymnastics? 10,000 hours. This is what it would look like if I tried to master women's gymnastics. And by the relative beard growth, I'd say that's about 20 years. So I could do it in about 20 years. Okay, well, long story short, it's going to take some time. I think we could recognize if I was to stop everything I was doing right now and just try to achieve gold in some Olympic event, it would take some serious time, it'd take some serious dedication. And if I really was going to master anything, it would take some time. From singing or dancing to painting or rock climbing or kayaking or many other things we could be talking about. But in general, to master something, it's going to take some time, it's going to take some effort. And so there are people that have studied this, and there is a book that actually talks about this. Some of you might have read this book, some of you might have heard about this book, Outliers, A Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell. This is a great book, but in all honesty, I have not read this book. But I do know someone that read the back cover, and they gave me the synopsis, so I'm going to share that with you today. I feel like I'm up to speed. But the widely publicized takeaway of this book, which was already shouted out, is what? How many hours is it going to take?
10,000 hours.
It's going to take 10,000 hours to master a skill. Now, let me put that in perspective for you. If you spent 1 hour a day working on one specific thing, that's going to take you how many days? 10,000 days. Yes, that's a long time. That's actually 27.4 years. So if you started right now, that's 27.4 years into the future. So if you were 18 and you decided you want to master something and you were willing to invest 1 hour a day, you're going to have that basically mastered by 45 and a half years old. So we're already behind the curve there. So if I started right now and I wanted to master something, I could do it. If I wanted to win an Olympic gold in it, I could do it by age 89. Women's gymnastics, of course. This is actually a real female gymnast. This is Johanna Kaas. She never stopped doing gymnastics since competing, I think, in the 60s. She still does gymnastics today. So throw away your beliefs about old age. Anyway, so since the book Outliers, there's actually been many other experts in the field that argued that that's not totally accurate. That it's not just 10,000 hours of practice that gets you there. That actually there's other elements involved, natural ability that you're born with, and also how you practice. Were you practicing efficiently? Were you sloughing off during your practice? That can make it take longer. All these things weigh in, which was beautifully summed up in this article. I was reading about it from fastcompany.com when they said, so if your childhood music lessons never turned into a concert orchestra gig, rest assured, it's probably not just that you didn't practice enough. Thank your innate lack of talent. So now you have something to blame. All right, you can tell your parents, it wasn't that I didn't practice enough, it's that I just wasn't good. Well, let's put all the nuances aside of what it takes to gain mastery. I think we can agree it's going to pretty much take some time, it's going to take some effort, and there's a process. And so mastering anything requires a commitment, and it requires this effort. And in Las Vegas, I have a friend named Jerome, and I consider Jerome to be a master bass player. He's mastered the bass. And there's no doubt that he has put in 10,000 hours into practicing the bass, and we used to talk about that together. But when you really think about it, you realize he didn't actually master the bass. He mastered his mind and his body as it pertains to the bass. Right? If you think about it, the bass is nothing but some metal strings, some frets, and some wood. There's not a lot to master there. But what he really mastered is his relationship to the bass. There's a process to growth and mastery. Nobody picks up an instrument and just plays it perfectly the first time. Right? Even a savant, there's a process of learning that instrument. We would never expect anyone to play an instrument perfectly the first time when they played it. We'd actually never expect them to play it perfectly after 100 times of playing that instrument. We would accept that. First, you have to learn how to hold the instrument. You have to learn how to tune the instrument. You have to learn how to pluck or blow into or hit the instrument to make a noise. Then you have to learn about what's the progression of the notes that are possible on this instrument. How do they go together? There's all sorts of stuff on and on that we have to learn. And there's a step before the next step, and each step builds on the last one that we learned. And we grow into the process. I think we all sort of pretty much accept that that's the way it goes with mastering a skill, but yet we don't really accept this with spiritual growth. This is where you go, oh, now he's getting to his point. We were just beating around the bush, now we're getting to his point. Well, we're going to get to that in a little bit. But first I want to tell you about the state of the union for unity as a movement. So there's a big topic in the unity movement right now, which is how do we get younger people into our churches and our centers? This is a big topic, and it's actually not just in the unity movement, it's in all faiths and all religions. There's a massive issue to deal with. How do we get younger people engaged? How do we get them to come and be a part of a community like this? And on the various unity teams and subgroups I work with and I'm on, this is a topic that we talk about over and over again from every side of the conversation, from a technological side to a promotion and advertising side to what the format of the service should be. And this is a big issue. And one of the ministers that serves with me on one of these committees is Ariana Platten, and she's actually a minister in Colorado Springs. That's why Mike was taking a guest there. She's at Unity Spiritual Center in the Rockies, a friend of mine. And she has a marketing background that she brings to these discussions. And she said something very brilliant in one of the phone calls that I grabbed onto. She said, our churches want more 20-year-olds in the seats. And so they try to reach out to 20-year-olds. But currently sitting in those seats are 65-year-olds. And that is too big a gap to bridge. First develop your 55-year-old market, then your 45, and so on. Each step takes time, but each step is necessary. Now, this is a very interesting example about life and the human condition. Many of us know where we want to end up, right? So we've got this place we want to be. It's all the way back here. This is it. This is the destination. This back wall is where we need to be. That's mastery, that's joy, that's what we've been working for, that's what we desire, that's what we want. And so, here we are, we're standing here, looking all the way back there at the goal. We're trying to get there. And unfortunately, we are so focused on there, we're not seeing this. Everything that's in between us and there. And someone who speaks quite well to this issue is a public speaker named Simon Sinek. Has anyone ever heard of Simon Sinek? Oh, good. Good for you. We're using a lot of Simon Sinek's material in working in guiding the unity movement. But he speaks actually a lot about, well, one of the things he speaks about is the millennial generation. He will go from company to company trying to teach them how to incorporate the millennial generation into the workforce, who, as the corporations see it, are not ready for the workforce, are not equipped for the workforce, and are struggling to fill that situation. Actually, after the first service, I had a gentleman come up to me who works in the trucking industry, and he said, we cannot get any young people to drive a truck. We can't do it, and we're having a very major issue with our labor force vanishing because we can't fill those slots. So it was a very real thing. I'm not up here lying. For those of you that thought I was lying, some of you over there have a feeling. So he specifically speaks on how this younger generation is integrating into the world now that they're in the workforce. Well, this next quote, I want to clarify, I don't think this next quote is just about the millennial generation. I think it's about all of us. And this is what he says. It's as if they're standing at the foot of the mountain, and they have this abstract concept called impact the world. And it's the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. What is in between me and the top of the mountain? What is in between me and the back wall, or whatever goal I have set or thing I want to achieve? There are steps. And more importantly, there is this step, which is my next step. And for me, this issue shows up so prominently as I observe people's journey on the spiritual path. Many of us are looking way too far ahead in the process. We are looking to transcend the difficulty of the physical world. Some are looking for a life of pure joy and wisdom and abundance and peace, and some are looking as far as samadhi and transcendence and enlightenment. And this is good. It's not a bad thing. We're keeping our eye on the prize as it is. But for many of us, our eye might be so fixated on the prize that we're missing this step. The next step. What is the next step in this process? And because I think quite often the end goal is so shiny and sexy that that's what we want, that's what we're picturing. I mean, this is it. Bliss. That's where I want to be. I don't want to deal with all this muck in between. I want to get there. It looks awesome, and so we want it. But maybe the next step we need to do looks more like this. Stop picking your nose in public. I know, it's distracting. So people are looking at the end goal of the spiritual path, and some are investing in books and seminars and trainings and weekend retreats that might not actually be what they need right now. It might be a little too far beyond where they currently are and not that applicable. And still others are ingesting questionable things into their bodies to try and chemically induce the experience of what we saw on the green, that end goal experience, maybe in an effort to skip all those necessary steps in the process. And we have all this caused by what I fundamentally feel is a lack of patience with the process. And Simon speaks to this as well. He says, what this younger generation needs is to learn patience. And I would say what everyone today needs to learn is patience. That's something that really, really matters, like love or job fulfillment, joy, love of life, self-confidence, a skill set, any of these things. All of these things take time. Sometimes you can expedite bits of it, but the overall journey is arduous and long. If you're familiar with the movie Karate Kid, this is the story of that movie. You have Daniel LaRusso. He's trying to learn karate so he can defend himself in school and other places where he's getting beat up. And he asks a sensei, a teacher, Mr. Miyagi, to teach him karate. And he keeps asking this teacher, when will I learn karate? When will I learn karate? But he just keeps telling him to sand the floor, paint the fence, and wax the car. He keeps giving him these menial tasks, and he's not teaching him any karate. I got to take it down because I lose you guys. Every time something's moving on screen, I lose you guys. But the point is, at this stage, Daniel is not ready yet for karate. Daniel still needs to learn patience and focus and balance, the necessary prerequisites to even the first lesson of karate. He can't even learn the first lesson of karate until he learns these fundamental pillars that karate is built upon. And what does Mr. Miyagi say every time Daniel tries to skip a step or rush ahead the process? Patience, Daniel-san. Well, I had a congregant come to me a few years back, very excited, just overwhelmingly joyful, and said, I just discovered a practitioner that has a machine that I can do one treatment and it equates to 10 years of meditation. I'm not joking. And I know most of you are going, yeah, I have that machine. This is Boulder, way behind the curve. Can I ask you, what is wrong with 10 years of meditation? Is that something that we need to skip? We got to find a way around? Why are we so eager to get through that process to what's supposedly on the other side? And does that machine give you 10 years of developed discipline, focus, balance, willpower? Does it give you the 10 years of spiritual experience that happens during that time? Does it give you the countless number of beneficial things that come with a 10-year dedicated meditation practice, which are countless. What if we could just connect to a machine and download karate? What would Mr. Miyagi say to that? He'd say, lesson for a whole life. Whole life have balance, everything be better. Understand? It's not about a seeming end goal later. It is about the whole process. It is about the whole of life. It is about applying it every single day as we live in the here and the now. But we are impatient with the process. Why? Why do we make our lives more difficult on ourselves? Why do we make the journey so difficult to go through? Why can't we figure out how to get to the end goal? We don't know where we are. We don't know where we are. I think most of us are in this place. We just don't know where we are. And because we don't know where we are, we cannot figure out or conceive of what the next step is or should be. If my goal is that back wall, and someone says, well, what is your next step? If I don't know where I'm currently standing, how could I possibly answer that question? If I don't know where I'm currently standing in relation to that back wall, it's impossible for me to ask that question and know the answer to that. I would have to know where I am right now to be able to answer that question. If I'm standing right here, my next move is to step down before I even step forward. If I'm standing right here, I have to negotiate this obstacle in my life before I even think about stepping forward towards a back wall. Now, what if I'm standing right here? I have to figure out what is blocking my light. I have to figure out what is blocking my path before I can move forward. But I would have to know where I am to understand what I have to do next. Something's in the way, something needs to be moved. I have to step down before I step up. But how do I know how to proceed if I don't know where I am? This is a huge issue with the spiritual path. I've seen this throughout my life. I've seen it throughout my ministry. Most spiritual teachings, and this is not necessarily all our fault, I'm going to relate this here. Most spiritual teachings are just sort of thrown at us as if they are applicable to all people at all time in all situations, no matter what they're going through or where they are or what they've been through. They're just sort of like, now deal with it. So we have things like this. I'm never in control of what happens around me, but I'm always in control of what happens within me. Raise your hand if you're always in control of what happens in you. I had a couple of hands for a service, and I was going to ask them if they've ever had indigestion, but I didn't. But doesn't that sound absolutely great? It sounds great. It sounds wonderful. It sounds beautiful. But who here is actually in control of what happens within them all the time? I'm going to guess likely most of us are not. I think most of us are barely in control of our own mouths, let alone what is about to come out of that mouth. I'm just saying that from personal experience. Now, there is truth to this message as an end goal. I want to point that out. This is not wrong. There is truth to this message as an end goal, but it is not necessarily applicable to many of us from where we're standing right now. Perhaps this might be a more applicable next step. Gain the control on the things which are going into your mind to gain the control of your life. I could go, that actually relates a little bit more to where I am currently standing right in this moment. If I'm not in control of my own mind yet, maybe I still need to adjust my outer physical circumstances in order to effectuate the internal growth from the place I am currently standing in this moment, in this time. Does that mean less negative TV shows and news? Does that mean listening to, reading, and engaging less in gossip and negative talk and everything that's wrong with the world? Now, sure, doing so might not sound that special or that spiritually advanced, right? We're not expecting an advanced spiritual yoga to go, you just need to turn off your TV. We're expecting more enlightened things, which sound more special, but it might actually be just exactly what I need from where I'm standing right now. Now, some people might say, well, Shad, are you saying I should try to adjust my outer physical things in order to facilitate my inner spiritual growth? But there is no physical. It's all an illusion, Shad. So we have quotes like, a wise man, recognizing that the world is but an illusion, does not act as if it is real, so he escapes the suffering. Well, first of all, Gautama Buddha did not say that. I searched and could not find any legitimate source to back up that Gautama Buddha said that or that any Buddha said that, as far as I could tell. But either way, it is a concept that is out there in the spiritual world, a concept that in its core might actually be truth, but also a concept that in its application could be detrimental to me from where I am currently standing. So I'll give you an example if you're wondering how that could be. If I decided that my bills are just an illusion, and I stop paying my bills, am I going to escape suffering? Likely not. Now, if that quote is ultimately true, why isn't it true for all of us? Well, because from where most of us are currently sitting on the path we are journeying, the laws and ramifications of the physical world are still very much real. We are still living in a system, in a physical world that appears and feels and acts very real to us. So can you see how that quote might not be applicable to you right now? As much as you might want it to be, and as beautiful as it might sound, it might not be applicable to you right now from where you are standing. But perhaps this could be. The world is an illusion, but an illusion we must take seriously. And what is great is that both quotes can be true. It's just that one might be more applicable right now, and another might be more applicable down the road, when I've spiritually evolved a bit more. Well, in the book of Matthew and in the book of Luke, in the New Testament of the Bible, there is the same story shows up there. And in one version, it is a rich young man. In the other version, it's a rich young ruler. And this young gentleman asks Jesus a question. He says, "What must I do to have eternal life?" Just one of your run-of-the-mill questions. And Jesus responds, "You know the commandments. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not murder. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Honor your father and mother." And this young rich man replied, "I have kept all these since my youth." When Jesus heard this, he said to him, "There is still one thing lacking. Sell all that you own and distribute the money to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." You see, this is the Christ awareness speaking, the same Christ that is within each of us, the same Christ that is available to every one of us. So what is the Christ of Jesus doing here but taking stock of where this gentleman currently is in this moment, in this time? He can see clearly where he wants to be, but now he's analyzing where he is right now in order to help this gentleman realize what his next step has to be. He's got to help him see where you are right now so he can help him realize what his next step has to be. This rich young man was blind to his own attachment to physical things, to money, to ownership, to desire, the attachments of the 5 physical senses that most of us are still trapped in. He wanted to be a follower of this famous, special, super cool spiritual teacher at the time. But instead of just getting invited along, which I imagine he thought was going to happen, just, oh yeah, great, coming along, he gets this powerful spiritual lesson instead. And fundamentally, he is told, you are not ready to follow me because you can't bring your fortune along. You're trying to skip ahead, unwilling to take the next difficult step that probably even you know you need to take. But once you do take this step, and once you have overcome your attachment to the physical things in this world, then you can come follow me. Well, you see, sometimes people take issue with what myself or Santisha or Jack has set up here on a particular Sunday. And more often than not, it is because we are sharing a concept that they are just not ready for at this time. Just a concept that they're not ready for at this time. And so they are struggling with it, and there is some resistance to it, and they're having a reaction to it. And that is okay. That is part of the process. We all go through that. And unfortunately, like most of us, they don't know what to do with that, except to get upset with whoever said it. When we have a feeling of resistance to a challenging concept, it can be hard to recognize that that does not mean it is necessarily wrong. It just might mean that we're not quite ready for it yet. It is just not right for us. It doesn't mean it's wrong in the grand scheme of things. It just might not be right for us from where we are right now. And it can be even more difficult to recognize when we are getting swept up into a concept or an idea that sounds so amazing and spiritually advanced, but yet is probably not right for us in this time. And that happens a lot. We read something, we hear something, it sounds so spiritually advanced, sounds so spiritually amazing, we want to partake in that, but we don't really recognize that, you know what, I might be getting swept up into something that's not for me right here, right now. So let me give you an example of this from my own life. I spoke about this a few weeks back. I was reading and hearing from different sources that deep meditation can take the place of sleep. If you're sleeping, if you're meditating deep, you don't have to sleep as much. So I started cutting back my sleeping hours to take more time meditating when the house was quiet and nobody was awake. And I was doing it for days after days, and I was exhausted. And I was agitated all day long. And I was easily upset by things that normally didn't upset me. I was sleep deprived. Not spiritually advanced, I was sleep deprived. Because this was a concept that was probably true down the road. But I was not at a spiritual meditative state that was deep enough to be true for me at that time, at that place. So I invite you to take stock of where you currently are right now. And I ask that you resist the urge to judge that as positive or negative, as advanced or falling behind, as progressing or regressing. You don't need to judge how you got there or anything of that nature. Simply take stock of where am I right now in this moment and time. Try to just simply recognize it as what is and where you currently are. That way you can become more aware of what is the next step to take in my life. And I bet if you get real with yourself about where you are right now, it'll become very obvious what step you need to take. And some of you probably are very aware of what that step is, and you've just been avoiding it or pushing it off to the side because it doesn't sound very fun. Well, that's the truth as I experience it. I'm going to invite us to go into a meditation just to take this deep within our consciousness. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes and rest your hands in your lap. Sit with your spine straight. Allow your shoulders just to relax. Bring your attention to your breath for a moment, allowing it to slow down, allowing it to slow down your mind, allowing it to slow down your heart. We feel the stillness in the room. We feel the stillness within. We feel the stillness in the air across the world on this quiet Sunday morning. And we feel that sense of peace that comes with being quiet and being still. And we become open. Open and accepting of who am I in this moment, at this time. Where am I? What exactly is calling me forward? What truly needs my attention, my investment of energy and time? Not what is so far down the road that I need to worry about it, but what is standing directly in front of me, one step away. Is it healing a relationship? Is it stepping out on a limb? Is it committing to think new thoughts, to have new experiences, to thank more, to bless more, to give more? It doesn't have to be grandiose to make a huge impact. Maybe it's just to be a bit more quiet and still. This is your true state. This place of peace is your home. You can step into this home at any time during the week if you take a moment just to pause, to go within, to shut out the distractions and to connect. And it feels so good to feel so good. As we go forth now from this meditation, we hold on to this feeling like a beautiful little gift we're going to carry with us through every moment and every day going forward. And so it is. Amen.
We'll take an offering for unity now. And in the practice of feeling good, I ask you to think about the practice of tithing. What is in tithing? What is the magic that is within the tithing process? And it is a practice in faith, that there's this greater potential, this greater love that lives within us. And when we are willing to give from God to this greater potential, we make room like a vacuum. We're giving, and then the process of receiving is tenfold. And you have to practice it to really understand that this is really a magical process of bringing more of that which we are desiring in our lives. And so to take into mind, what is it that I am desiring in my life? Is it a greater relationship? Is it more prosperity? Is it better health? To give from God into a spiritual center that's giving you a message like this, and watch how Spirit will take care of you tenfold. So I ask you to take this test today and try out tithing, and take your offerings in your hands and bless it with this offering statement. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. Together, please. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have and all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And again, we have an incredible chance to listen to this beautiful music from Erna Groverland.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
So that completes this incredible service. Thank you, Shad, for the inspiration and amazing talk today. And Erna on the beautiful music. Thank you for all this beauty that's happening in here. I want to let you know that we have CDs and DVDs of this talk right after the service, right in the bookstore on this side. We also have that incredible craft fair. Please support these local vendors. Most of them are part of our congregation, so it's a nice way to support our Unity family. And I also want to let you know, if you're facing a challenge in your life right now, just stay seated in your seat, and a prayer partner will come and find you and take you down to our beautiful meditation room, and they will pray with you. And I'll let you know that one of our main prayer partners today is actually Jack Groverland, so if you would like to pray with him, he will be here to pray with you. All right, let's all rise and close the closing benediction. And Sandy Spawn and all the amazing prayer partners. There.
Just one step, nothing too big. Amen.